morning and welcome. We will call the July 13th, 2015 Kilva Hills Board of Commissioners meeting to order. If you would please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you would also join us for a moment of silence before we get in any further with our agenda. Thank you. Okay, first thing this evening is the agenda approval. Well, as far as our agenda, there's two items on tonight's agenda that we need to address. And basically, the first is that the public hearing, when we looked at this at our June 16th meeting, we discussed this and we had scheduled it at our June meeting, but what wasn't realized at that point is that during the planning board's meeting, when they took action and made the recommendation, the required consistency statement was not included. So this matter is going to be rescheduled for our meeting in a future date once the planning board has completed their deliberations and looked at the consistency statement. So that's one item that we basically need to remove from our agenda. The other item is the first item under new business. Eddie Goodrich has requested just today that he would like to postpone his presentation. He's still waiting for some informational materials from the state, so he will reschedule with us at a later date. Would anyone be willing to make a motion?
I will make a motion that we remove the proposed amendment to Chapter 153, which is the public hearing, item zoning 153.002, and also that we remove the new business item number 1.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. So this will take us then to the first time set aside this evening for public comment. Is there anyone that wishes to speak at this public comment time? And I'm guessing there were no one signed up.
Chip's not here.
No, but Colleen's here. Sorry, Andrew. Okay. All right, then we will move on, actually all the way down to new business item number 2, the Public Works Complex. And my items. Debbie, I know we have some guests here.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Donald Booth is here representing DJG and can address any questions that the board may have. This was discussed during our budget. It's the ongoing project. It's enlargement of the existing police department storage building, exterior facade replacement at the existing Public Works Administration building, expansion of the existing parking at the Public Works Administration building, new design build of a 7,000 square foot pre-engineered fleet maintenance facility, and last, construction of a new fuel island for usage and storage of 22,000 gallons of diesel and gas for the town apparatus and vehicles. And Mr. Booth will address some of those items in particular, and also go over the bid process, and then I'll be happy to give you staff's recommendation.
Great, thank
Donald?
you. Welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here this evening. Julie Dunks with our office is also here, who helped us put together the packages that did go out on the street to be bid. Ultimately, the bids were received on July 1st. There were 2 bids that were received. There was approximately a 3% separation between the 2 bids that were received. That was the second time that the project ultimately was bid. The first time, there were only 2 bids that were received at that point, and in alignment with the North Carolina statutes, we returned those bids proceeded to re-advertise and re-receive bids within the timeframes that were specified. Those were ultimately received on July 1st. The combination of the three bid items totals $2,074,500. And ultimately, our recommendation is for full acceptance of all three bid items. The first two bid items were in general alignment with our estimates that were prepared within our offices independently for those scopes of work, which include the police storage expansion, the fleet maintenance facility construction, the facelift and exterior improvements for the administrative building, as well as the site work improvements, including utility extensions, expansion of parking, and expansion of the site roadways, site access ways. The third item that seemed a little bit anormal in the bids that were received was the costing for the fuel island. However, once we kind of ultimately delved deeper into that item, there had been some regulatory changes that had gotten incorporated into the bid, but the costing had never gotten updated for some of that regulatory upgrades. So ultimately, if the board was to delay the award of that, we do believe that the pricing would come back in higher if it was a standalone bid element rather than incorporated within this phase of the work. That after the completion of this phase, if it was tabled for a future phase, there would be kind of a greater disruptive activity to the fleet, what would then be the fleet management operations and the ongoing operations, because it would kind of be in the center of a working yard area at that point. And based on some of the initial discussions with the town staff, there's projected savings in the magnitude, conservatively, of about $30,000 a year in fuel costs, which equates to approximately a 10-year buyback. And the additional value of that fuel island is the fact that on a storm event, you will have a reliable fuel source that's in the control of the town and is connected to an emergency power source, which is the existing emergency standby generator that is installed there at the complex. With that, I'd be happy to address any questions.
Debbie, do you have anything to add to that?
Actually, I think Donald summed up everything that I was going to add. The payback, obviously, and as he stated, would also recommend acceptance of the AR Jessup construction bid in full.
The one question I had was probably most notable on the bid tabulation form. Under the base bid for number 2, such a large variance in unit price per linear foot between the two proposals. Any reason why that's such a significant variance?
Those values, as the contractors look at them, are always going to have some range. And those values are generally limited to small quantities of work. So the contractors account for that in different ways. And ultimately, if the need for either of those unit prices was to be enacted, it would be on a very limited scope of work. If there was any larger items that were discovered, it would be taken as a lump sum proposal, not utilizing a unit price value for that. Those unit prices are for if you run into a patch of soft soils underneath a footing, for example, and they've got to remove a 5-foot-long section in a trench, an extra foot, that's where those unit prices would come in, very limited scope.
So you're not concerned, I mean, the contingency that's set aside, that 10%, you're not concerned of
No,
that
ma'am.
big of a variance affecting us?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
On the base bid number 1, the amount there differences there are about $160,000, I guess. And then base bid number 2, the difference is about $115,000. But one's higher on one and it's lower on the other. Number 1, Conrad is higher. Number 2, they're lower. And, I don't know, is that $160,000 difference, is that? I don't know, is that unusual, or, and then there's the one that, the mayor mentioned, which I noticed also earlier, but that one, there's a really big difference in.
In the initial evaluation, it's something that we would go and look at if there was a range of bidders and the apparent low bidder was very high in one category and then very low in the others. We would certainly start to inquire as to why that was. With the participation of only 2 contractors, the contrast between the two is not necessarily as alarming, especially when you take the sum total of base bid 1 and base bid 2 added together, and you look at that evaluation. It really gets into how the contractor chose to piece out the work and then collectively put together his pricing.
Yeah, we have an issue here where we live that we don't get a bunch of bidders like they do in big cities and stuff, so we had to, this had to be rebid, is that correct? Because we only got one?
Yes,
No,
sir.
well,
first
you had
time.
We had
two, you only had two.
2 originally
Okay.
and required by statute for 3.
Yeah, and, you know, it all works out in the end, obviously, because of the bid award to Chesson, but it's kind of just interesting, the differences, how they work it out, like you say, somebody goes out to estimate a job and it all ends up the same in the end, so. But I'm happy with it, I mean, no problem, I don't see a problem.
Motion would be in order. There's no other questions. Have any other questions?
No.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid by A.R. Chesson Construction Company for the amount of $2,074,500 for continuation of the Public Works Complex Phase 2 revised.
I'll second that.
Well, can we also add to that motion,
The rest of the
for a total
sentence.
not to exceed amount of
Okay.
the $2,337,660? And also, that would include, authorization for the town manager to execute the contracts for this project?
And necessary budget amendments.
Right.
So the motion is amended? as
Yeah, sure,
such?
that's fine.
About the second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Questions? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Donald.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Madam Mayor, the second part of this is the financing, which includes a revised declaration of official intent to reimburse expenditure. The Finance Department did request and received just recently the bids for financing, and BB&T Bank had the best offer, 15-year financing at 2.68%. And that would be our recommendation to go with BB&T for the 15 years at the 2.68%. And would request a motion to approve any budget amendment and banking resolution necessary for the financing, and to adopt the revised declaration of official intent to reimburse expenditures with a total not to exceed amount of $2,337,660. And then application will be made to the North Carolina Local Government Commission for approval of this project, with anticipated approval to be received in September. Upon receiving that approval, then a notice to proceed will be given to R.A. Chesson Construction Company.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Discussion or questions on the motion? It's a lot packed in the motion, but it's, the only variance from in the packet is specifically we're naming BB&T and the 2.68% for 15 years. Okay, all those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
then lastly is the need to schedule the public hearing which we would recommend Monday, August the 10th, 2015 at 5:30. This is due to the contract involving real property as a unit of local government must hold a public hearing with a required notice at least 10 days prior to the hearing.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion to schedule the public hearing?
I'll make that motion to schedule a public hearing for August the 10th, 2015 at 5:30 PM.
I'll second that.
Discussion, questions? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank
Hey, and
you.
Debbie, one thing on the declaration, just very minor, but the first sentence, the O is missing an of,
Okay,
just before we send that out. So, very minor.
yes,
Okay.
I see that. Great.
All right. Moving on then, we're under new business item number 3, appointments. We have two members whose terms are expiring in August, Tanya Young and Jerry Farless. Both are interested in being considered for reappointment. Ms. Young was originally appointed in 2009, Mr. Farless in 2012, and currently Ms. Young is serving as the chair, and she has been since 2011. Actually, Mr. Farless is currently the vice chair. So,
I'll make a motion to appoint Ms. Young and Mr. Farless, continue their terms.
I'll second that.
any questions, discussion? All those in favor, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, thank you. Okay, already on to Commissioner's agenda. Commissioner Midget?
Nothing today.
Okay. Commissioner Reba?
wanna
It's not
go
too
back?
late.
Go
We can go
ahead.
back.
Oh, the fireworks looked really good. I really enjoyed those. The Avalon area, that section of town, seemed like it was really, really packed with automobiles. And I was thinking we might want to consider if it, if we builds eventually, maybe move to like make that a pedestrian area, just for a short period of time, because it seemed like there was a lot of traffic, and I don't know if there was any accidents. I hope not. But that might be something to avoid in the future.
Are you talking about the beach road or?
Yeah, just on that little part of the beach road,
Uh-huh.
maybe shuttle people in from a bigger parking lot area.
We
I-
Review
certainly can
that.
ask,
Sure.
Yeah.
ask the police department to look at it and make any recommendations
Yeah.
they may see fit to us.
That
And
was
I-
all.
And I was gonna speak to that exact same thing and say that kudos to the police department and the fire department and everybody who had a hand in that. It was absolutely wonderful. We kind of decided at the last minute to go, so I want to say you handled it great. I don't know that it really needs to, not to disagree with you, but I although there was a lot of traffic, I think it was handled extremely well. We drove through that traffic, and I'm not one that likes to do that. I did that under high duress there, but I was very, very pleasantly surprised. I can tell you, again, at the last minute, drove through the traffic, was able to find a place to park, and got to the fireworks probably 15 or 20 minutes before they started, and got a front row seat. So I can tell you, I was extremely pleasantly surprised, and I can tell you, it was probably the most pleasant experience I've had to be able to get there and to be as close as I was without being actually on a boat. My experience with fireworks that closely is usually on a boat. So, and we were right there. So I cannot say enough. There was a lot of police presence there, but it was absolutely well handled. There was a lot of people, but even getting out of there, it was very, very well handled. And I cannot imagine how stressful that had to have been for your police force, because there was again a lot of people, and there was a lot of people who were intoxicated as well. But it was None that I saw that were driving, thank goodness, but it was very, very well handled. I'm sure you probably saw some that were, but I didn't see any that were. And it was absolutely a wonderful experience. So thank y'all. Kudos, Debbie, your staff did
I'll pass it
terrific.
along. Thank you,
So
ma'am.
thank you.
Anything else?
Nope.
No?
Yeah, I liked the fireworks too. It was great. I mean, we got in the habit years ago parking on the other side of the beach road, or the bypass. We park at BB&T.
Smart.
So so you can make the right turn and just
Yeah.
go home that way. So, and that works out good for us too.
Your
Smarter
trick's
than
out
me.
now.
Yeah.
Oh, rats! I won't get a parking space.
Yeah.
But it was, yeah. I mean, everything I saw, I agree with you. It was handled wonderfully. The other thing I talked to Dave Elder today, our lifeguard supervisor, and he told me the program we're working on with people leaving things on the beach overnight is working really well. He said there's very few violations, and when they are, he said they tag them. And he said last night, matter of fact, there was just one tent last night for the whole 5 miles of the beach. So that's working pretty good. I'm really pleased to hear that.
It's a big difference from last year.
Yeah, we don't like to play hardball with people, so it's nice that it's working out the way it is. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just to tag on to that, I was sharing with some folks yesterday, we were enjoying the beach, and we were talking about what a difference it is this summer with items left behind. And I was sharing that last year by this time, I had received a number of emails and phone calls about that. And knock on wood, to date this summer, I haven't received any. So I think it is a testament to the program working. So thanks again to staff, Debbie, for managing
Yes,
that
ma'am.
and doing a great job implementing it. So,
Oh, one other thing, now that you,
Sure.
I thought of it. Right, started today is the junior lifeguard program, goes for 2 weeks. And there'll be another one start 2 weeks from today. And it's for young kids. I forget the age range. I know our granddaughter did it last year when she was 13. It's a 2-week thing, and you sign up through Dare County Parks and Rec. And our lifeguard people handle the program. The reason it goes through the county is it has to do with how the money is exchanged. They already have a system where people pay for stuff like that. So, but if anybody has kids or grandkids or anything that want to be involved in that, you can contact the county. My granddaughter liked it a lot last year.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Under Mayor's agenda, just 2 items. One, for those of you who are following closely, there are no updates to this point on the sales tax redistribution. Certainly, we're monitoring it. We'll see what comes out of, I guess, the special committee between the House and Budget or the House and Senate trying to come up with our state budget. But that's obviously still on the radar. The other thing is, I know we've started the advertising for the National Night Out in August. The date is, does anyone remember off the top of their head? August, I don't know if it's the 8th. Is it the 4th? Okay. At the 4th. So, August 4th. That's a great event. Our staff does a really nice job putting it together. Great to see just lots of community engagement with that. So if you haven't done so already, please mark your calendars and join us for National Night Out. And that's all I have this evening.
Do you want me to mention these things here?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, okay. We got a letter, was addressed to the chief, Chief Britt, from Sue Burgess, the superintendent of schools, and was thanking us for the way that was handled when we had the demonstration over there a few weeks ago. She was very complimentary of not just the police department, but staff in general. And we also got a letter from Miss Teresa Land, and she had some dealings with our customer service department in Public Works. And she mentioned a couple of names, Karen and Stephen Donsky, who is a relatively new employee, and Marcia Scarborough, of course. And Ruth Griffin, right? Ruth? Okay. Yeah, and she was really pleased with the way things went. She had a water break, and it's nice, I think, to mention that we get stuff like this a lot, and I'm so proud of our staff. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Debbie, anything under the town manager's agenda?
No, ma'am, not tonight.
Steve?
Not anything for you tonight.
Okay. Debbie, the consent agenda?
Yes,
We
ma'am,
have
just
the
one
minutes.
item, the minutes from June 24th, 2015. The staff recommends approval as presented.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as submitted.
I'll second that.
Questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. All right. Well, we are already at the second time set aside this evening for public comment. I think this is going to set a record this evening, unless every single one of you wants to get up and speak for 3 minutes. But anyway, is there anyone that does wish to speak to the board this evening or share anything? Yeah, let's get.
Just curious what the consent statement is that that we were lacking on that proposed amendment.
The consistency statement. It's the consistency, and I'll do my best to respond, and then you guys, Debbie, can correct, add to it. But basically, the consistency statement is required on any motion of such. We provide it, in fact, provided it when we first reviewed it as well. And it's either stating that what we're adopting or what we're proposing is consistent with the
Land
land
use,
use plan,
yeah.
and why it would be consistent, or if it's not, why it's not consistent. And I guess I would default to the statutory requirement of that now. It didn't used to be, but years ago.
Any zoning item.
Yeah, and I don't remember what year that the statute changed to include that, because years ago it wasn't there, but it has been for a while. So it's a matter of needing to make sure we're dotting our i's and crossing our t's. We'd hate to go through, hold the public hearing, and then be tripped up later with it not technically being legal because we didn't follow all the general statute requirements. So, slight derail, but we'll pick it back up and move forward. So, anyone else have anything this evening? All right, well, a very short meeting, but big accomplishment with the Public Works.
Yes,
Department,
thank you
so
very much.
good. With that, a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Any questions? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That is great, thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for coming.
Thank
What
you.
time's the national?